I'm Krystal Blackard.
And I'm Lindsay Reynolds.
We're seekers of truth, willing to ask the hard questions and cut through the industry smoke.
On Simplified Success The Podcast, we strip sales and marketing down to what actually works, front end to back end, so you can scale without the burnout.
Because real growth isn't just about numbers. It's about optimizing how your business runs so you can grow yourself, grow your paycheck, grow your team, and grow your leadership.
And most importantly, making it all happen without the fluff or the chaos.
This is Simplified Success.
Hello, hello. Welcome back. Episode 3. Here we are. That's so crazy. We're actually like real podcasters now because this is our 3rd episode.
Third, you can binge us almost.
You can almost binge us. Oh my gosh. Does that make us like legit? I feel like that makes us more legit.
I feel like this microphone.
When you're, that's true. Yeah. So those of you that are hearing us and not watching, since the last episode we recorded, we have up-leveled because that's what we do. We just do that. So how did we up-level this time, Krystal?
Well, I got a microphone because turns out you should have a microphone. And I have been told this my whole entire life. Krystal, you need a microphone. I'm like, nah, it'll buff. But now I have a microphone. And so I like it so much, I wanted to have it in the camera for those of you that are watching. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
I remember the time like when I was ever like first thought about starting a podcast like a decade ago, right? I always felt like that was like the barrier of entry. Like you needed to have a microphone in order to have a podcast. And at the time, like that was just like a massive investment. And now it's so funny because the way technology has gone, like it's not a crazy investment anymore. But it still feels like such a massive up level to be like, yeah, no, I have a microphone.
Well, and there's something nostalgic about a microphone.
Fair. Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. We played that game too. It's better for Krystal's girls than mine because my daughter is not old enough to do this yet. But it was funny. We were actually making a joke about it at dinner. What people think of different things. I was like, yeah, I saw this really funny video about kids who didn't know what yellow pages were. And ironically, we had one of Krystal's daughters with us, who's in her 20s, or early 20s. And we were like, yeah, what is that? She had no idea. And so it's so funny. So we ran through like all of the examples of like, show us what a phone looks like. And like, if you're watching this, like a phone looks like this, right? Like it's your hands with your fingers, but at a certain generation, it's like a flat hand, like to your face, right? Or like the camera piece. Like, I just think it's so funny how, to me, like a mic feels really cool, but I bet there's like some,
You want to know a fun fact?
Gen Alpha who's like, you should just use your AirPods.
You want to know a fun fact?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I actually did a video of that, like, pick up a telephone, and I had me and my Alpha kid. That was my very first viral
Oh, really?
video.
I don't think I knew that about I didn't know about your viral status, that being the first. That's funny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
In your new age world.
how do you pick up a phone? And how do you make a heart? And of course, my heart's like this, and my Gen Alpha kid's like some convoluted, weird heart. I was like, this is a heart. And she's like, no, it's like this.
So weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was actually having this conversation with somebody about a month ago. We were in a meeting and they asked if anybody there had gone viral. And this particular human is in his, I don't know, closer to retirement age. I don't really know how old he is, but in that range. And he raised his hand and everybody kind of like looked at it, kind of laughed. And he's like, well, yeah, there was this time it was like when he was early in his career where he was doing before, like in his brain, viral was like different. And so it's interesting now how we've reprogrammed it to be like viral on the internet, but like, and we talk about this, I'm totally going to segue for a second, but like we talk about this a lot in our framework, which I don't know if we're going to talk about today or not, but this whole idea of like connecting with people doesn't always have to be online. Right. And like his whole piece was like, yeah, I've been viral. I had this great idea. And it was like something like he had sold. I can't remember the whole story, but like he worked at a toy store here in town. And they ended up repurposing. They had gotten a big shipment of like little pools, like the plastic pools. And they got them in the middle of winter. And it was like a big snow day. And they ended up repurposing them as like sleds. and they like went viral, at that time was like in the news, and it was a big deal because everybody was using those like as like sleds. That's how I recall the story. Maybe I'm like making this up, but that's what I recall. And so we talk a lot about like that whole connect phase, that first step of engaging and building relationship and capturing people's attention. And it's so interesting because we feel like, I think people have gotten conditioned to think that you only do that online. And if it's not working online, it must not be working. And there's like this weird separation between real life and online. And man, I think that's where it gets all jacked up. I think that's where you stop being yourself because it gets weird. And so, but the way you show up online should be similar to how you show up in real life. Like there shouldn't be a huge deviation. It's just another platform for you to do that. But like connecting and capturing can be at a networking group. It can be at, your church. I mean, connecting and capturing people's attention is just you existing and being like safe to take up space. Which very well segues into a lot of what we wanted to talk about today in our whole untangled concept. So I'm going to let you, I didn't do that on purpose, but like this happened. So like, what do you think? And this, cause we talked about this a lot, but I love your riff on this. So I'm going to give you like a prompt. So like, what do you think keeps people know that like the way that you run your business, the way that you move things forward is like getting attention, inviting people in, getting that invitation, that attraction piece, right? Mm-hmm. Fostering a relationship and then having an opportunity to sell. Everybody knows that. And that's part of our cafe method. But like, can you know that and still not do it? Like what's the actual thing that really we've seen that holds people back the most? Because I think this is the really interesting conversation. Everybody thinks they need tactics, but like, what's actually the junk? Like, let's talk about that. I have my coffee too. I have a pretty coffee mug today.
You have a pretty coffee mug. I got my shake. Okay, so
I forgot my wedding ring on because I don't sleep with it on. I'm still married. I just left it. And every time I see my hand go up, I'm like, oh, but I really am still married. There's no drama here. But please continue.
Thank you for prefacing that.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to just speak to this. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Seems to be a common phrase that I often use. Yeah. Or I've often felt or seen. And so that's actually been something I've really spent a lot of time meditating on in that particular process, because people can hear it, but understanding it, they can even acknowledge it. They can even see it. They can even point it. Am I making sense?
Keep going. I know where you're going, so keep going.
But I can't understand it for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think it kind of goes back to what you were literally just saying about virality. Okay? And so first of all, want to really quickly debunk a myth. Okay? Virality does not equal dollar signs, first of all.
Oh my gosh, so true.
So vanity metrics are not getting you paid online. I don't care what people say. Now, some people have the influence, the followers, and they're getting paid for it. Not saying not everybody's doing it.
Yeah, but I think that's because they're leveraging it, not because...
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
No, you're correct. And so, interestingly enough, I'm like your friend. I went viral before it was cool to go viral, but it wasn't online. I went viral in real life in the tune of my network marketing business in real life. And so I didn't even care about viral online because it was math into my bank account and I was making the checks.
That's why I said when you said the first time I went viral, I'm like, when you decided to make that a priority, I wanted to be, because before,
it wasn't a priority, it was an accident.
Well, and I think you think about it this way too. So like during that season of time, and this is just walking through it, because I think people need to understand that, and I've had this conversation with so many clients, like even like literally as early as this past week, they were like, well, we only have this many followers. We need more followers. And it's interesting because that's not necessarily true. Like, does having more followers help? 100%, like, yes, but it also changes the way the algorithm works. And so there's something you have to kind of play with on that. But real quick, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you'll remember, but when you cultivated with your team well over $60 million in sales, right? What was your following and your team's average following? Like, it's not like you guys, it's like I think it's important for people to realize in today's world, when you see people who are doing some sort of social selling marketing, a lot of times they have these massive followings, right? And so I think there's this story or this thought process that like that's how you did it. And so when you look at your historical, and this is important for people to understand and why having a large following can be leveraged well. And we have clients that have huge followings and can be leveraged well to make a lot of money and build your business and create your impact. But you don't have to have that. So like, do you have an idea of like what it was like then?
Absolutely. I still only have 7,000 followers on Facebook.
And that's only really because it's grown over the last couple of years. Like early in your when you were making, like when your team was at its peak growth, when you were like, that was the focus and your team was focused, like your top leaders didn't have more than a couple thousand followers. No one did. This was not like a team. I mean, they cultivated $60 million, I was part of it, but like $60 million of sales, which equated to lots of money for lots of people. And whether you're in a network marketing space or a traditional space, like the concept's the same, right? Like you have a way to build relationships, foster relationships, and you have a good system to be able to have an offer, and we foster them well, and then we offer again, and all, like, it's just the normal sequence, whether it's in this vehicle. I don't want to get on a whole network marketing thing, but I will say, like, network marketing really, like, if you're doing a social selling tool, you're just a salesperson. I'm not trying to minimize it. Someone else is managing all the other operations of a business. It's not really a different thing. You're just only responsible for one element. So it's not like running a network marketing business. I know a lot of times it's sold as like this, it's your own business. Well, no, it's your own brand, and you're selling a product, and that's a real thing. But someone else is just managing the rest of your operations, and that's great.
You have zero autonomy in it.
You do or you don't?
You have zero autonomy.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like a franchise without having to spend a bunch of money to get it started.
But I will say this, and I think we completely agree this too. Like, this isn't knocking the model or the business skill. Just
not at all. I think it's fantastic.
Being aware of what it is. So it's a really great way to get started in the online space because you don't have to manage all of those moving parts. Because most people don't have the capacity to take on a full blown business and be able to scale it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So that is good. But I want to go back to something you said about the followers, right? And this actually does have a really clear, congruent path to where we're going today.
Yeah. This is part of the podcast, guys. Like, this is like you're literally just having coffee with us. This is how our conversations go. Okay, go.
So, interestingly enough, like, talked about viral. So I look at content and look at like social media, like pre-COVID and post-COVID. Okay, because that's just a real thing. And
it's shifted. Yeah.
So, pre-COVID, there was so much that you could do, and things would, like, literally, like, you felt like it was going viral, right? And then post-COVID, you actually had to understand what virality actually meant in terms of social media virality, and I'm going to get to that in a second and why that matters. And part of the reason people are struggling today is because they don't understand the shift that happened. It's a really big mindset shift. Again, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. So you've got to, like, you got to get the.
And we also have like a lot of tools and resources. Like if you get over to our community, there's so much that you can do. You want to binge watch?
And I don't mean that I'm not going to explain it, but I'm just saying, like, that's where people get really stuck is. So the actual thought of virality before then was being able to duplicate a process over and over and do it in a real life manageable situation, right? Where you actually created dollar signs for your followers and your engagement and being able to turn sales and then push somebody up to a distributor and then teach them how to do the exact same process. That was viral pre-COVID. I mean, I'm not saying people didn't go viral back then. Like, there were some people that were going viral. Okay, the network marketing space is a really good example in direct sales of people that went viral, like before going viral was cool. Like, you know that song, Country Before Country was cool. I was viral before viral was cool.
Right.
But there was a shift, a really big shift come COVID. We saw a huge exponential growth. Like, personally, in my personal business, I had 600% increase 1 month over the next. That's insane.
That doesn't even make sense.
And that was complete pure profit. That 600% was pure profit for me. Okay. But then as that started to decline and we started coming out of that post-COVID era and things started to shift, you really did have to understand how to actually go viral online. But here's the caveat. You need to understand how to go viral. You don't actually ever have to go viral. And that's where people get so stuck. Okay. You need to understand who you're talking to. You need to understand your niche. You need to understand how to grow an organic audience. Okay? You need to understand what's going to make people tick and who you're trying to talk to and who you're trying to sell to. Okay? That's the formula: relatable, shareable, repeatable, right? A good hook, a good payoff, right? Those are all the pieces. We actually have a master class.
We're trading on this, yeah.
On that.
But it's all tactics, and this is where I think it gets really interesting.
But you have to understand that. You have to understand that strategy.
Yeah.
But you do not ever have to go viral.
No. And here's the thing, though. This is where I think people get stuck, right? So you understand the tactics, right? Like we have a whole course on this in TBA. It's fantastic. It walks you through all the tactics. And you do the steps, but for some reason it still doesn't work. And this is where the real conversation is, because where people think is like, if I do the things on social media and I follow the rules, it will work. It's the same thing if you have not gotten yourself squeaky clean. If you have a weird energy, and I don't mean energy like in like the philosophical, like weird astrological, we don't really play that game. I mean like, when somebody walks into a room and you can tell that they're cool. They have a vibe. They're light. They're exciting.
I call it the it factor.
Yeah. And everybody has this in their own way. Right? Like somebody who's more introverted, maybe they're not going to, I walk into a room, if it's the right room and I'm in the right vibe, like I can take up space. Like that's just my personality. But everybody has their version of that where they feel calm, collected, confident, that feeling, right? You can do these steps exactly the way that we teach you. Like Krystal's saying, I can teach it to you, but you got to catch it yourself, right? But if you get in TBA or you get into our free community and you follow the steps to a T, you can do exactly what we say and walk in the room with a cloud over your head and it's not going to make a difference. Right. And so what we realized, and I think what a lot of people start to realize is, and where people get frustrated, is they're like, I took the course, I did the steps, it's not working. And it's the energy piece, right? And you know what I mean. You've seen people walk into a room, and if you walk in, their shoulders are kind of down, their voice is a little bit more like this. Yeah, I want to talk to you about my thing. It's a completely different energy than somebody who walks in polished, excited. They're not even really selling to you. They're just like so excited telling you about their thing, and they're like, it's so great, and like, oh, I'm so excited. Like that whole energy difference shifts how people perceive information. And that happens in real life. Like I promise, if you stop for a second and think, a person who, when they walk in a room with you, you immediately go, okay, let's deal with this, right? Because the energy is just different. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I wanted to correlate to viral in real life. The reason why viral in real life works, and you know how to do this in real life because you have a friend, you have a relationship, you have people in your life, you know the people I'm talking about, and it can be a season too. I'm not shaming you for having an off day. I don't want to say that you have to be in the vibes every day, all day. Mm-hmm. I think it's about being honest about where you're at and letting yourself move through emotions and move through feelings and all of that. But if you're not squeaky clean, as far as the energy that you have behind the work you're doing, it comes through in in your captions, it comes through in your video content, it just comes through. And so we started to see this with clients, like we're telling them exactly what to do. They're doing exactly what we're saying.
The fake blanket effect.
The fake blanket effect. There we go.
Yeah,
and they are not getting the quote unquote results, which in that first phase, it's really just about reach. It's really just about.
And it's interesting because as we're saying this, we all have people that come to mind that we see that do this, right? Yeah. And it's like this fake facade is over everything we do, and it's almost like
that's not real either. That's why I said it doesn't need to be toxic positivity here. I'm not looking for you to.
For the love of goodness sake, this 2025, get rid of the dang filters.
Well, and if you're not Tigger, don't be Tigger. Like, this is about you really being like, I'm just being honest. Like, if you're kind of an Eeyore, like, own it. But not that there's anything wrong with Eeyore. Everyone loved Eeyore too. We just needed to bring Eeyore up a little bit sometimes.
Well, somebody said something to me that was really profound one time, Lindsay.
Okay, let's hear it.
It really like tripped my, just sent me into a spiral, right?
Okay.
They said, oh, Krystal, you think you're going to teach a course on going viral. But let's be honest. Virality is only for people who are super fit, super funny, and super pretty. Like you. Other people outside of that box don't go viral. And I was like, and this was a person that was pretty leveraged in network marketing. And I was like, isn't that interesting? Because in network marketing, we're basically asking people to go viral to grow a business, right? In person and in real life. And there are all kinds that go viral in network marketing. And not all of them are super fit, super pretty, or super funny. No. And that's okay. It doesn't have, you don't have to be funny. Like, I like being funny. It comes real natural for me. I'm very tongue in cheek. I'm pretty salty in real life. And if you go follow my content, you'll see it. Like,
yeah, but it's about being like wholly you, you know?
so
and like,
it's about, so understanding who you're speaking to, and that's what you're trying to say. Like, you get to go be the unicorn that you're designed to be.
yeah.
So don't try to go be somebody else, but understanding that and walking in your God-given, here we go again, God-given greatness, because this is essentially what Lindsay and I do. We pulled this out of you.
Yeah.
And it's because Lindsay and I are complete polar opposites. Like, you can even tell if you're watching this. Like, she looks little in the screen and I look tall. It's because I am really a lot taller.
I'm like, we're opposites, Krystal. And it's funny you say that, because I don't know that you would look at me. So use the same example, okay? So based on that you know, head cheerleader analogy that was just given, that you have to be tall, skinny, you know, all the things.
Beautiful and fit, yeah, all the things.
Yeah, like, I'm quite the opposite of that. I am 5 feet tall if we've never met. You can't tell when I'm sitting down, but if you look at some of the pictures of us, you'll notice that some
we don't 6 feet tall, so it's kind of fun, yeah.
Yeah, like, some we don't have shoes on. There's a reason. And if the heels are on, we're both sitting down. Like, like this is not by accident. Like, I'm 5 feet tall. I wouldn't say, I'm definitely not the blonde, you know, epitome of all of that. But I think what really, and then we were having this conversation with some of our, we have different levels of people at different parts in the entrepreneur journey. I'm not going to say age, because I don't think age has anything to do with it. I think it has very much to do with just where you're at in your own mindset and where you're at in your own head. But as you move through this, what you start to realize is, if you want to go quote unquote viral, and I would almost love to like redefine it at some point. We should really sit down and really think about this, because viral, for people, they think that means having a million views on your video, which actually doesn't necessarily convert to anything other than you had a million views on your video. Because most of the time, that's not something that's actually going to turn into something where somebody actually, you know, attracts and comes into your space where you can foster them. Like,
it's
that's
kind of
probably
like
not.
voted homecoming queen.
Nobody cares after 5 minutes. Like, it just doesn't matter.
You get a cool picture, blah, 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 but it really amounts to nothing really of value in life except for a popularity contest.
And what I would say is that,
unless you have a back-end strategy to convert it.
correct, which is where we get into that whole
do not know how to do, right?
No, and that's the part we see people miss a lot. Like, even when we have clients that have significant, like, huge, and that are usually, they're really good at one part. We have clients who are super good at the foster and not as good at the capture. They're really good at building that relationship, really good at doing offers, not so good at getting people into their reality where they can do that. We have clients who are super incredibly good at capturing, getting people to follow and getting people to say, yeah, you're interesting, I like you, not so good at getting them into where they can actually create a foster reality. And so you have to be able to work on all four. But for any of this to work, any of it, you have to be squeaky clean on you. And it's really about you feeling confident, controlled, and not controlled in a bad way, but like where you feel good about you. Because Krystal and I are opposites. And we both, like,
so if you'll think about it, the linearness of our tools, like the actual very first thing we put out was the content creation catalyst bot. Yeah. The bot helps you define your micro niche.
100%. Do you know who you're talking to? What's micro niche? Who are you talking to? Yeah.
Correct. And that's exactly what Lindsay's trying to say. Like, you can walk into a room, you don't have to be all the things. You could be 500 pounds, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. But you're going to find your people. They exist. They absolutely exist.
If you are good with who you are.
Right.
And I think that's...
your skin, you can own who you are. And that's the reason, like...
That's why we did the Untangled. Like, that's why Untangled's there. Yeah.
Right. But that's why we started with the bot, so that you could understand who you were talking to. We went into some of the AI stuff, and then, okay, so this is a great segue into the Untangled. Yeah. So let's talk about this, because you're like, well, my client clarity statement, I'm not going to attract the pretty 20-some influencers who are going to really sell. I know that's who I need to attract. No. You're not going to attract them, and that's okay. Yeah. But if you figure out, like, Lindsay and I aren't going to attract the 20-some influencers either. But I'm okay with that, because... Yeah. There's a season in my life, there's a season in her life where I don't relate to them anymore. And I'm really okay with that.
And there may be, like, just because you have a micro niche, like ours is a little bit more broad than like exactly the age group. It's more about where someone's at, but like that doesn't mean that other stuff won't come.
Well, our micro niche is all about turning chaos into clarity, and that really fits the broad spectrum of humans. And because we have such broad experiences, it's broader. Not everybody has that.
Not everybody has that, but I think it's so much about, like, once you know that, like then the next step, and that's what's so interesting, because that's exactly why we ended up going where we went with how we started building out our tools and resources for our clients, is like, you have to be so squeaky clean about where you are and who you are, because you can show up in any room. Like I honestly, if my thing was I help 22-year-olds to get clear about their life vision and coach them, like hypothetically, I'm making this up, I can go do whatever my micro niche is, because I am squeaky clean on who I am. And if I feel called that that's what I'm supposed to do, it's going to show through in my content. And I will attract 22-year-old kids who are looking for, I'm just being honest. Like, I
hope you're giving it away for free if it's 22.
Right. But you get what but if I felt like God put it on my heart that like, and I get the opportunity to do this in a cool way.
Sorry, I have a 22-year-old and I just know they don't have any money, so I just...
Right, but I mean, but like hypothetically, like if I felt like, or I felt like God called me to help 52-year-old women go through perimenopause, or like, I don't even know what age that is, whatever age you are when you do that. Like if I felt like that's what God called me to do, and I knew that's what my micro niche was going to be, because I'm so squeaky clean about me, and I'm comfortable in the room, and I know this is what God called me to do, it's going to resonate and it's going to work. And that's where I think people have to understand that it's not that your micro niche has to be you. I know a lot of people coach like it has to be you 5 years ago, and I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's very much about, you need to be so okay here where you are and who you are. You're not carrying around the junk, the stories that aren't true, the unforgiveness that you're tracking behind you that's keeping you from being able to show up in a room correctly. Mm-hmm. You can show up in any room and gravitate anything that you feel like you're called to do if you're squeaky clean on it.
Right.
Like if we wanted to pivot our entire business and it was to be able to help people in their 90s learn how to use technology, I don't want to do that, because we're not doing that. But if I felt like that's what God called us to do, we would attract 90-year-old people who wanted help with their technology. You know we would, because we're so squeaky clean. And if we feel like that's what God's calling us to do, we're going to show up 1,000% without any junk, and if we have junk, we're going to use the tools to clean it back up and get clean. And we're going to go where they are, and we're going to meet those people where they're at. And I think, because that's what viral is. Viral is meeting people where they're at, squeaky clean. I don't know. I'm getting on a tangent. Sorry. Untangled Journal. Go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about Untangled. And so that's a great point. So Lindsay and I started doing let me just go back a few steps. Yeah. We started working on Rewired Phase 1. It was all about your tech, making it talk, making it in line, keeping it really congruent, right? Your AI. Really, really cool series. But what we realized was people had so much disconnect from who they were and how they were showing up that they couldn't even use the tools properly. And we realized that was one of the journeys, and the kind of the linear journeys that parallel to a pretty extreme degree that we had both walked on previously in the last 10 years. And we knew that we had that component. That's also why we were able to be really good business partners, is because we were very much equally yoked. We have very much equal yokedness in our ability to be able to, I call it in coaching, eating crow. We're both really self-aware. We have a lot of self-awareness, and we will always take responsibility for what we did or didn't do. We don't ever get mad. We are willing to have hard conversations. If we have a hard conversation, we don't take offense to it. Like a lot of that, like we're
squeaky clean on it. Like if there's radical
responsibility, breaking down that definition for people who may not understand that.
Yeah, with you. Yep.
Because that's a pretty big concept, and also really walking in that humility. Okay, because that humility piece is really important, because as humans, we all really like to be right, correct? And sometimes that keeps us bound and tangled, okay? So if we're bound up and tangled in these pieces, mentally, energetically, spiritually, and financially, it's really hard for us to move forward, to elevate, to get to where we want to go professionally.
Yeah.
And we see that. And oftentimes, you get so heavily, or entrepreneurs and business people get so heavily focused on the result of the strategy, the sale, all the things, all the moving parts, all the tangible, touchable things, that they forget about the actual energetic field that they're carrying around them that attracts or detracts what they're trying to bring in. Because it's their own stuff inside of them that's going on that they haven't walked through. So that's where the Untangled series Rewired Phase 2 Untangled came into play, because we were like, we got to rewire some of this tangled junk in people's heads.
And we went straight in for the tactics. We're like, here's what you need to do. And then it was like, hold on, wait a minute.
Right. We had to back up because we saw that there was some, and we had some huge breakthroughs. Like it was so profound. And it all started, interestingly enough, with one day Lindsay and I were talking about some of our own stuff. And so we kind of sat down and we co-created this journal.
Yeah.
And we called it
as a tool for ourselves. I mean, like, I think that's the difference is like elevation is I'm noticing a thing. I need a tool or resource. Let's untangle and rework this so that it's serving us well. And that's sort of how it was born, right?
Yeah. It was literally born that way. And then we were like, this is a free gift. We want the world to be able to have this because so at the core of all of it, being able to untangle the forgiveness or the unforgiveness towards yourself, towards God, towards somebody else, whatever that looks like for you personally. And you'll
whatever the brick looks like, man, it's a brick.
Right. It's a brick you're carrying around in your backpack, right? then that's what basically frees you, right? It frees you. It sets you free. And you can start working on all the other things. And when you start letting some of those other mindsets go, you can elevate exponentially, like time collapsing elevation. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you see it in the return of profitability and financial income.
And in your relationships. Because when
relationships, all of it.
It's like that virality piece that we're talking about, like, because the definition's gotten so jacked of like getting 1 million views, virality to me is like, you are viral in your life, right? Like it's not just that part. Like it's like you have relationships and you have the right people in your circle and they're thriving in all the places, and where you're not, you're working on it. Like it's this whole viral is probably the wrong word. We'll have to play with this, but you're getting like the point of just like you have to use the right tools and resources, and you have to be to the point where you're you're taking enough radical responsibility that you know something's off and you're going to adjust it so that you can be squeaky clean and continue to step forward. Not perfect. You're never going to get there. It's a journey.
Your own stuff. Like being willing, and that's one of the things that I've always really taught my kids is to be like, and my kids will actually push back on you. Like they were telling me about a conversation the other day. They were like, we were having a conversation with this person and we both were taking responsibility for our own behavior and they weren't. And I was like, okay, but that's an upper level mindset piece. That's one of the things that sets the good from the great apart. So if you're really looking to walk in greatness, you've got to untangle that or you'll never get to that greatness. You'll live in a field of predictability your whole entire life. Yeah. And the really cool thing is like you can talk about it, you can whatever you want to, you can think it through, you can peel it apart, you can put it back together, but at the very base of it is forgiveness. And that is why, like, I'm going to go on a little bit of a biblical tangent here for a second, but that's exactly why that Jesus sent with that on the cross, God sent his son to die, because forgiveness was the ultimate sacrifice. Previously, it was behind the curtain, to the priest, to the things, all the sacrifice. It was like a ritual, and it didn't need to be held up like that anymore, but yet we still hang on to that when it was a free gift. So, one of the things that was so powerful in that series was walking them through the forgiveness tangle and helping people identify it, because when you live in a world and in your own world where that doesn't consume you and you don't harbor resentment, bitterness, anger, and frustration,
none of that's from God. Like you have to know that
you are free indeed. You are free indeed, and nobody else lives rent free in your head, because when you got people living rent free right here, you don't get anywhere in life.
And like it slows you down. Like, we'll talk about like time in the next episode, but like when you're carrying all this around, like things will go slower. It will feel like it's just another day. Like I heard someone say that the other day, like, how are you having a good day? And they're like, just another day. And all I thought was like, how sad that every day is just another day. Like if you feel like that's true, you're carrying around stuff and you're numbing not to have to deal with it, which I get, and I'm not judging, but like every day is like a gift. You get an opportunity to bless somebody, to be in front of, to build a memory. To
be that way. It's so simple. I'm not saying it's easy.
Oh my gosh, it's not easy at all. Like it is the most exhausting thing you'll ever do. It's really hard.
It is, but I'm just telling you, once you go through it, like it's a journey. Like once you start, you can't unsee it, and you do have to kind of push through it. So if you're not ready, and we are going to link that journal in the show notes, so make sure.
Yeah, it's free. Like go for it. Yeah. And if you jump into the Simplified Success community, there is if you look in the guide section, you'll see there's a whole section where we did on the journal with additional prompts and walking through. And so like as you're going through the journal, you can go in there and you can throw your contemplations in there, and like we'll come back and engage and help and answer questions and things like that as you're kind of
like other people's breakthroughs as they had that. Because the cool thing about this is like whatever we do in the Simplified Success community, we usually take over in TBA and we do like a deep dive.
Yeah.
When we did a super deep dive, and I mean we had some pretty intense sessions over there.
Yeah.
And we actually just finished it up over there, but it's still all there, and it's amazing. And we will go through that. That will be a yearly thing because
so the way TBA works, like just going like we do Q&As in there all the time. So as people jump in, if you're going through that whole masterclass specific to Untangled, and that's not necessarily the masterclass we're actively teaching, you can come to the Q&A and be like, hey, I'm working through this part of the journal and I have this question, or I'm working through this part, because we have extended things that we did in TBA that are outside of what you'll see in the community, the Simplified Success community. But like you can come to the Q&A for that week in the thread and be like, hey, working through this module, need some support and help here, and like we'll serve you where you're at. That's what's so great about TBA, is it's stacked with all these different master classes, and you can sort of choose your own journey, focus on what you want to focus on, but you can always bounce back and forth, but you have access to us in those Q&As as you're going. So we'll still support you even though we're not actively doing that masterclass right now. So that's kind of a unique thing about how our community is structured that I don't know that I've seen in a lot of I've been in a lot of communities. I haven't seen that in a lot, where you can go pull old stuff, do Q&As about things that we've coached in the past as you're brand new in our community. But we've definitely laid like a yellow brick road, like very much so. But any other closing thoughts on this one, on this whole thought before we jump to the next episode?
I want to just point this out. So this was a journey. Untangled was a journey. But it was also one that Lindsay and I were very much called to walk on previously. And just because we taught it, like I do feel like, and I've explained this before, there's learning, there's teaching, and there's mastery. Okay, that's 3 levels of learning. I do feel like I'm walking in mastery of this particular part of it. And it's because of the season and my age and what I've been through. It's not because I'm so great. It's actually because I was so bad at it previously. Okay.
Yeah. And mastery of the tool, right?
Like the tool and of the process.
Yes, I want to be clear. You have not gotten to where I just don't ever get mad anymore and I never have to forgive. That's not what I want to be really clear so people understand. Yeah. Mastery is mastery of the tools and resources. Correct. I think that's important to designate. Okay, keep going.
And processes. So for me, the process is really fast, and I can do it in my head in about 5.5 seconds, and I can identify it. Not everybody's wired like that, and that's okay. We get into that in TBA. But I want to make it very clear that even, like, it was interesting because on this journey, as we were going through it, I had to put my money where my mouth was several times. And I even called Lindsay and I said, boy, isn't it ironic? I had to do this and this. This happened yesterday. And I really wanted to act like this, this, and this. And I said, but instead I put my money where my mouth was and what we're teaching. I would have anyways. I may have gotten there a little slower. But because because, like, also something to understand, we're not talking about perfection. We live a life of excellence, not perfection. Excellence gives grace for mistakes. The only difference is when you live in excellence and you make mistakes, you learn from those mistakes and you pivot and you try to move forward as best you can with the tools and the resources that you've been given, and you elevate, okay? So just to kind of clear that up. But just so you know, Lindsay and I do not consider ourselves that we are above all, almighty, but we have gone through it and we have completed it and we have seen some really beautiful fruits from it. And so that makes us eligible to guide you through it. And that's one of the things I want to point out is it's not about being perfect. It's about doing it well and with excellence. And
and I would say, like, because we're so solid about taking radical responsibility and elevating, and as we elevate and grow, like I imagine, so this is something we do at least every 6 months, like actively, the deep journal, we do it every 6 months. Now, the process Krystal's talking about where you're actively dealing with an active situation, like, that happens all the time. But when we do this, like, deep dive, intentional go into it, is at least every 6 months. And as we elevate and as we become more masters, like, we modify, like, we adjust it. We like, oh, this thing is an even better way to do this. Like, we're trying on new things because at a mastery level of the process, of the resource, we always look for ways to make it better, simpler, those kinds of things. And so like, you'll see that as you walk with us in TBA, because that'll be something we'll do in TBA as part of our kind of reignition every 6 months. It's just part of what we do. It's part of our process. So it'll be part of that. You'll see us modify. So like, this journal right now is what we consider like the best for right now, but we can come out with a new one that's adjusted in 6 months, because we tried and errored, like Krystal said, like in the last month, she's had to use it about 4 times in real time. And we actually had a conversation. She's like, this kind of worked a little better. This kind of didn't. And so like, we will continue to update it. And that's part of the value of like, especially in TBA, is like, you're getting the best of like, as we're going, because TBA is that place where we pour in a community. Like we're sitting with you, like you're at our kitchen table. Like this is like, we're all on the couch. Like the podcast is like, we're on the couch, we're all chit chatting, but TBA is more like, hey, bring your notebook. Let's dig into some stuff. Like we're sitting at the table together. Here's some tactics. Here's what's worked for us. Here's what hasn't. Like this is kind of our like behind the scenes, like giving you all the goodies. Like when we do our other work, like when we do our done for you stuff, like we're taking it off of you. Like we are your team, like we're handling it for you. But when we talk about TBA, like we're locking arms with you at the dinner table. And I feel like that's more the vibe of that group. And in the free community, like we're here for you. But like that's where we really like, we have the raw conversations of like, it's a real safe place. But yeah,
it's a safe place, and it's a great place to learn and grow. And it's a great place to bring your team into too, if you want to. Like if you've got
100%,
you're in an office and you have a team that you lead, if you have an MLM that you lead, if you whatever, it's a safe place to bring it.
Yeah.
And
then you can kind of go through it together. And as a leader, like sometimes it's really hard to facilitate all of this on top of all the other things you have to lead. And that's why TBA is a great place for that, because it's something you can sort of go through together, which puts you all kind of in the same place without you having to always lead everything, which can be hard as a leader. And like great example. Sometimes someone else saying the same thing. Like we had this happen with Krystal and I the other day. We were having this conversation, and she's been telling the same person the same thing over and over and over. I said the same thing, and they heard it different. So, and sometimes that's just like the way that it's just, sometimes you have to hear it from a different voice. And so you can leverage us from that perspective too. If you've been saying the same thing to your team over and over, and it's just not clicking, like put them in TBA. Like we'll say the same thing you said, and maybe they'll hear it different. I don't know. So.
Yeah, we do have affiliate links too for people that want to bring in people and bring their friends.
Yeah. If you want to bring your team, shoot us a message.
We understand how that works, so we do have affiliate processes. So
yeah, we're all about like, man, the rising tides rise all ships. Like this is we're here to help and make everything better for everyone, because we feel like, man, if everyone's better, everyone's better. It just makes the world better. Yep. So. Okay, well, we will see you guys in the next episode. We hope you have the bestest day, and can't wait to see you guys soon. And as always, you can send us messages. You can reach out. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you want to hear, what you're liking. You can get us on all the socials. If you go into the show notes, just go to any of them. We actively are in our DMs. We actually have a tool where we see everything in one place. So anywhere you DM us in the whole wide world, like we're all going to see it. And we are actively in that inbox. Like Krystal and I. We have teams too, but like we are actively there and we know what's going on. And so if you're in there, like we're in there. So let us know. So we'll talk to you guys at the next one. Have a good day. Bye. If today's conversation helped you see your business more clearly, make sure you hit follow so that you don't miss an episode.
And if you're ready for more support, join us inside the free Simplified Success community. It's where we share resources, strategies, connections, and you really get to hang out with a lot of cool other growth-minded entrepreneurs.
Simplify your strategy, multiply your results, and make it happen. This is Simplified Success.